Hey there, it's Laura of Stewart-Panko.com, and in this video I'm going to share with you 10 ways you can handle unsolicited parenting advice. If you have not already experienced that multiple times, don't worry, it is coming your way. Before we get into the 10 ways, if you haven't already seen it, please check out the companion video to this one, which is how to cope with differences in parenting styles. There's some great stuff in there that is very complementary to what you'll see in this video of 10 ways. All right, let's get into it. Number 1, excuse yourself. All right, so you're in a situation, somebody's saying something to you that you prefer not to hear. Go pee. You gotta go pee, right? If not, your baby went pee, your baby needs a diaper change. As long as you haven't just come back from one, that could be a really handy excuse to get some space. So when you're taking that space, maybe that ends it. By the time you come back, the person's moved on to a different topic of conversation. If nothing else, in taking space, you're giving yourself an opportunity to regroup and be calm and centered, gain some perspective. And maybe you'll think of some of the things that were in this video, just another way that you might navigate that advice that you were hearing. So give yourself some space, make an excuse. It's a good thing to do. Number 2, initiate touch. All right, so here's a little bit of psychological trivia for you. The research has found that in a social interaction, the person who first touches the other will control the interaction. So let's say you have excused yourself from the situation and you're like, what am I gonna do? So maybe you've thought of some things to say, but to give yourself a little bit of a boost, plan to touch the person, say on their shoulder or on their arm if it's appropriate. Just a very subtle touch can make things go a little more smoothly for you. So you walk back into that situation, and in order to get their attention, just nonchalantly reach over and go like, hey, did you hear about, and then talk about something completely un-baby related, right? Number 3, ask for a story. All right, people love to talk about themselves. What you can do to get some of the attention off of you and your baby is say to another person, hey, you know what I've been doing lately? I've been asking people for some of their best parenting stories. Will you tell me one of yours? Right? And hopefully it's a humorous one and it lightens things up and has you both laughing. But it can be a really nice way to turn the tables a little bit while still allowing the other person to feel some importance and feel seen and recognized, and that they are contributing to your life. Number 4, declare your needs. So this next tip, you might not be able to do it in all situations, depending on how well you know another person. Mind you, sometimes it's even easier with people that aren't so close to us. But when I say declare your needs, what I mean is be honest. Take a risk, be vulnerable, be direct, and say, you know what? I am going on 3 hours sleep right now. I can barely form a cohesive thought. You know what I would love right now? Can we talk about something un-baby related? I'm babied out right now. Or maybe, in referencing this story, maybe you're gonna say something like, I've been thinking a lot, what did people do in a previous generation? Assuming you're talking to somebody from a previous generation, and kind of get a little bit of information, education, if that's your current need. Maybe you need to laugh. Maybe you need to just say to them, oh my gosh, I need to laugh. I've been feeling so miserable lately. You got anything for me? Can you make me laugh? So declaring your needs. And think about this too, that we are telling the other person what to do, right? We're directing them. And we're doing this in quite a nice way. And it's like with a toddler, instead of always saying no, 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 don't, we will redirect and we'll say, do this, right? So we don't hit the dog, we pet the dog. Pet the dog, that's great. Oh, nice gentle touches. You're not going to talk in that condescending way to another adult. But same principle applies, that as adults, we can also be redirected from what isn't so desirable into what to do. Number 5, point out evidence your kid is okay. So this tip, besides kind of redirecting focus of the other party, also helps you stay strong and clear, especially if they hit a nerve. Okay, so let's say your baby has really cute chubby legs, right? And then, you know, somebody says such and such, and then just go, oh, look at these chubby legs, aren't they just so squeezable, right? If I just hit on a nerve by giving that as an example, meaning sometimes it's extremely stressful for moms if their baby isn't gaining weight at the rate a medical authority might say is best, that can be really stressful. So if I hit a nerve, if you haven't already found them, check out affirmations for feeding challenges. Absolutely free to listen to. It'll give you some support. All right, I digress. Back to pointing out evidence your kid is okay. Maybe, like, you can talk about anything that is typical development, anything that's just cool about your kid, right? So everybody loves to see a baby or a small child smile. Well, we like to see everybody smile, but it's especially charming, right? And so even just going, you know what? He starts smiling. I love it so much when he smiles. Anything could be happening and I see him smile and all is right with the world, right? And so just a nice way to say, let's not focus on the negative here so much, folks. Let's look at this miracle that's right in front of us. Number 6, reference and authority. Okay, another thing you can do to kind of sidestep getting into an opinion war is to offload the responsibility for the approach you're taking onto an absent third party. So you're saying things like, well, my doctor told me, my midwife told me, I read this article the other day. Oh yeah, I was doing that, and then I was at this mom's group and this other mom said, and then I realized I needed to stop doing that and do this instead. Okay, so then if a person disagrees, they're disagreeing more with that, again, absent third party as opposed to you who's right there with them. So it can be a way to kind of take the heat off a little bit. And I'm gonna share with you a little secret. You can lie about this. So for the most part, I am a big fan of honesty and being open and truthful and direct. But as we know, sometimes that doesn't go over so well with certain personalities, right? And maybe in that moment, you know, you're running on fumes and you just can't take one more stressor. Maybe what you need most in the situation, rather than being honest, is some emotional safety, right? So think of it as a virtuous lie. I give you permission to lie if it's for the greatest good, if that's helpful to you. So even if your doctor didn't say such and such, but in your heart you know that this is right for you and your child and you've made a careful decision, go ahead. Say your doctor said it if that is going to work for the personality that's listening to you. Number 7, talk directly to your baby. So what you can do is indirectly send a message to another person by speaking directly to your baby. So an example might be your baby is fussy and somebody is encouraging you to ignore them, and you don't feel that's right in that situation, that you feel it's better to be offering comfort. So as you're comforting your baby, you can talk out loud. You can say things like, oh, sweetie, it's okay. I understand you're having a rough time. Those teeth are coming in and your gums hurt. I get it, baby. Yeah. You know what? I wonder if maybe we could find a cool washcloth for you to suck on and see if that helps. So you're kind of narrating and speaking what's happening for your child so that the other person might go, oh, wait a second, I didn't think about it like that. And then they're bringing more compassion to the situation. Or if they aren't able to get there, at least you and perhaps some others around you who might offer some support are on that page. So give that one a go. Number 8, validate first, then offer other ideas. Okay, so great communication tool is always starting with validating what another person has said. Now, let's be clear, validating doesn't mean that you necessarily agree with something. It just means that you can say to another person, I hear you. Oh, okay, that could make sense. And then give some reasons why it might make sense. And another way to think about this, when I say validate, then offer other ideas, is a concept called pacing and leading. When we pace and then lead with someone, we're more likely to be able to introduce a new idea that they won't resist, or even if they disagree with it, that the resistance won't be as strong or aggressive. So an example might be a person says to me that they don't like that I'm co-sleeping with my baby, that they feel I should put them in a crib and use cry it out. So those are two very different perspectives on sleep, right? And so let's say a person is saying a lot about cry it out, and maybe they're even saying, well, I did that with my kid, or I did that with you, if it's one of your parents that's talking about it. So you can stay right there with them and be like, oh yeah, when you made the decision to do cry it out, what was happening for you, or how did you reach that decision? And then maybe follow-up questions like, what was it like? Did you find it stressful? Did your partner support you in it? Whatever question. So this is the pacing. This is staying right with them and letting them know they're being heard. And then you get to lead once you've done some pacing. So then you might be like, yeah, you know, I've been thinking about maybe doing cry it out sometimes when I'm so desperate for sleep, but I'm realizing that she's just too young for it, and it doesn't feel like now is the time for her. That, I mean, when I say too young, yeah, I mean she's only 4 months old, but have you heard of the 4-month sleep regression? Or which pet peeve for Lara is that it's called a regression when really a baby's still getting older. It's just that the system is rewiring, and so we see usually a significant disturbance in sleep around the 4-month mark. Again, I digress. All right, so you've got some pacing and leading as an option. Number 9, tag you know or right into a phrase. All right, this is another kind of sneaky, fun psychological trick. When you're speaking to somebody, if you add you know or right into what you're saying, they are more likely to agree with you. And not that we need people to agree with us all the time, but it is nice to have at least enough connection and common ground that we're bridging differences of opinion. So kind of like the validating I was talking about in the previous point, that at least they can go, okay, I don't agree with you, but I can see how somebody might have that perspective. So, you know, when we want to have congruency with what we're saying to our body language, right? So I'm going like this as I'm saying, yeah, and this is what I believe, as opposed to, I think that's a great idea. Okay, so this is congruent, this is incongruent, right? Did you catch how many times in sharing that idea with you, I used right a couple of times? I used you know at least once. I'm not sure if I used it more than once or not. So it's quite subtle. It's easy to slip in there. It can take a bit of practice if it's not how you usually speak. And so practice at home, practice in the mirror, practice when you're with your baby if this is a tool that you want to use once in a while. Number 10, humanize and forgive. All right, when you're getting unsolicited parenting advice, chances are very high the person offering it is well-intentioned, meaning they care about you and your child, or they just want to do right by any kid they encounter. Most people that are offering advice are not malicious. They are not trying to cause harm to a baby, right? Even if what they're saying is really crazy and dangerous, or at least questionable, right? And when I say humanize, it's that because everybody wants to feel validated and seen, kind of like we've already talked about, but people want to feel useful. People want to feel like, hey, I knew something. And if it is somebody that has any questions about their own parenting, even if those questions may not be conscious to them, they may feel more invested in being able to give advice and share things as a way to feel it's okay, I know what I'm doing and I did it right and I didn't screw up my kids. Because it can be really painful when we realize, uh-oh, we've taken a misstep here or there. And in this vein, I talk about it a little more in that companion video that I mentioned of how to handle differences in parenting styles. Sometimes when we're doing things our way, when we're just doing our thing, if it's quite different from what someone else does, they may just automatically interpret that as a criticism, even if you had none of that going on. And so you might see some interesting behaviors come out as a result as their defenses pop up. Okay, so we need to humanize when somebody is offering some unsolicited advice. And then the forgive part is, you might have a person that fully believes what they're saying and they're truly ignorant in that they don't know what they're talking about. You have to forgive that, because we all do that sometimes, right? We all have unconsciousness, and we all have the capacity to be opinionated. Another reason that we can forgive those offering unsolicited advice, especially if they are coming from a different generation or a culture different from the one that we were raised in, and that could be our own parents as well, right? If they were raised in another country and then moved to the country we were raised in, we can know there can be major cultural divides right within a family. So we need to forgive the fact that their education and what they were told to do could have been extremely different from what you've picked up, and they don't mean any harm with that. And I'm going to give you an example of how easily this can happen. So if you know anything about me, you know I care a lot about moms and babies. I am really passionate. I want to do right by people, and certainly when I'm passing that information, I want to do the best that I can with that. In my own mothering, I really have always wanted to do a good job. So when Sam was born, it was 2002. When I was pregnant, I took a class in making baby food. Okay, I wanted to get that part right. And at that time, in 2002, we were taught you introduce solids when a baby is 4 months old. In 2017, and this has been the case for a few years now, the recommendation is no, 6 months, maybe even later, and you don't just do it according to the calendar, you also look for signs that your baby is interested in eating solid foods and you follow their lead. Okay, so really different things. So here I am with a 4-month-old thinking, okay, I gotta get some solids into him, and it's not happening. That tongue thrust is happening. He's not wanting it whatsoever. I'm getting frustrated and panicky, thinking, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? And then what's wrong with him? Why won't he eat it? In sheer ignorance and miseducation, I'm putting myself and my child through a pretty unpleasant introduction to solid foods, and I wasn't trusting myself at that time either. So it was really rough. So forgive, right? We've all got differences in our education and our experience. All right, so on that note, I'm going to wrap up this video. In the links, I will have that companion video I mentioned, as well as some links for affirmations, affirmations to antidote mother guilt, affirmations for feeding challenges that I mentioned, and a guided relaxation, easier baby days. If you have a baby, that'll really help you chill out. So please take good care of yourself, and I wish you every peace and success in handling unsolicited parenting advice.